What's up, y'all? Exodus One, aka MO Sky, aka y'all already know who it is, man. Trigger ranking the Trigger Man himself. Um, I want y'all to like, subscribe, share, definitely hit the notification bell. If you like to support the channel, uh, everything is just. Cash app in the description of my this video. If you want to follow me on any other platforms, everything's at the top of the description of the YouTube. So, hey man, let's get to it. Y'all, let me get the sound, the intro soundboard up. Let's see what's going on here. Alright.
You are watching a master at work. Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Right from the start, I was too much. I'm closer than you think to the stars. Nigga, look up.
Ain't nobody don't ask me.
No need to act so.
Don't you think I'm so sexy?
I simply tell him that they hate me.
Hey, what's up? Let's say Dylan. Dylan. But let me tell you. Where you coming in from, bro? Everybody spam the chat. Tell me where y'all coming in from. Yeah, so far. What's up? What's up? She said she likes singing this song. That girl, I'm watching the way I stand. Tell them that it's human nature. Why? Appreciate it. Thank you. But that's not, this person right here is not me singing on here. I can't sing, but this is not me singing right there. I'm just singing along with him. His name is Mr. Ken, Dono. Mr. Ken Dono. But he cool. Got a lot of soul in his voice. I open my shows up with it. Oh yeah, SWV killed it too though. Looking out across the morning, city side begins to be. All right, y'all. We're going to Warline. Let's see what's going on, y'all. I don't know. I do need to do this update though. So let's see what's on this update. 5 grisly details exposed in David murder. We're gonna be reacting to the Law and Crime channel, y'all. Y'all would have came. Y'all watched
You're
my.
asking for a preliminary hearing to be.
So check it. Hold on, y'all.
A lot of people are identified.
So if y'all if y'all go to my last live I did, we had like a little jam session. Me and my little homie Mike. We had a jam session, so y'all can check that out if y'all want to hear more music. Go to my last live.
Themselves through their trauma, through their issues. Right. I identify myself like this because of something that happened to me. Right. But we don't.
To be set at the earliest possible date.
David was in court. The criminal complaint, including the complex murder charge, has been made public. And I interviewed the Los Angeles County District Attorney about what is going on right now. Lot to get into with the latest in the murder case of David, the man accused of.
It's about time they locked him up. And if it wasn't for LAPD, they wouldn't have brought up these charges. LAPD was the ones who really got the ball rolling. Because I think LAPD kind of got like upset and was like, what the fuck is taking y'all so long to lock this motherfucker up, bro? You found a dead body in his car, and it's an underage girl. Bro, what the fuck is going on? How the fuck is he still walking around free and shit? 7 months, bro? They found her body 7 months ago, big dog. Like, that's a million years to get rid of all the evidence that he needs.
Brutally killing a 14-year-old girl. We want to break down the statements, what to expect from an upcoming hearing, whether this is a strong case, what the evidence may be. Is there a tension between the LAPD and the DA on charging David? A lot to get into. We're going to start right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. By the way, if you're into content creation, if you're putting things out on social media, have you ever wondered how we're able to share so many of these clips from all of these cases, all of these stories so quickly as they're all unfolding? Here's a secret. Not a secret, I'm going to tell you what it is. Opus Clip. It's an all-in-one AI editor that makes it so easy to cut, create, and upload videos across any platform. Through AI, Opus Clip generates B-roll, it reframes footage, and it even cleans up audio. It is so easy. Just visit opus.pro/sidebar. You sign up, you upload in minutes. You have perfectly edited clips ready to go. TikTok, Shorts, Reels, Opus Clip is your one-stop shop. And having a tool like Opus Clip means that our producers can get you viral courtroom updates instantly. This is the most powerful tool there is to share ideas and edit like a pro. So go to opus.pro/sidebar to get a free week.
I dropped a cherry.
So a lot more David news. we got to break down. We have the criminal complaint. We have his first court appearance. I have my interview with the Los Angeles County District Attorney regarding the timing of these charges, because there was a theory that the LAPD and the DA's office, maybe they weren't on the same page. We have a statement from David's family. So much to get into. And I also want to bounce this off of my guests later on in the show to make sense of what may be happening behind the scenes, okay? Now, this piggybacks off of what we talked about yesterday when the 21-year-old singer, the romantic homicide singer, was officially charged by the LADA in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose decomposed, dismembered body was found in the trunk of a Tesla.
What's up? What's good, Mike?
David back on September 8th, 2020.
Yeah, I was telling them about earlier this morning, bro. We had a jam. Well, I said this morning. Earlier yesterday morning, we had a hell of a jam session. You better tell them, bro. Tell them in the chat, bro. We had to turn up for y'all, bro. We all the way turned up.
And be clear, before I even get into the criminal complaint, David is innocent until proven guilty, okay? These are merely allegations, okay? They haven't been proven in a court of law. Just want to make that clear. Now, I'll tell you what, instead of going to the presser from yesterday that was held by the LADA, because we played all that in our
Man, them motherfuckers, but we was in this bitch. I was in here like I was having a watch party when they locked this motherfucker up, bro. I was like, oh shit. Cause I think they was live today or something like that. They was live. I know they was live. Well, not today, but yesterday. They was live yesterday.
Their episode from yesterday. What we didn't have yesterday when we did that episode, what we have right now is the official criminal complaint. It was filed. It has been released. We have our hands on it. So let me read to you. On or about April 23rd, 2025, in the county of Los Angeles, the crime of murder was committed by David Anthony Burke, who did unlawfully and with malice aforethought murder Celeste, a human being. So you're talking about a premeditation, you're talking about an intention.
So this part right here, y'all, we don't know. I mean, we know she's passed away, she's gone, but we don't know the manner. Like, we need to know the manner of death. Like, I need to know exactly, like, what the fuck did they do, bro? And the only way that's gonna come out, her body was too decomposed to be able to find that evidence out. So what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna have to, I guess, make some of them people that's gonna get locked, because I'm sure he's not gonna be the only one locked up, but they're gonna have to get some of them people that's locked up with him to flip on him and tell exactly what happened.
It is further alleged that the murder of Celeste was intentional and was carried out by the defendant David Anthony Burke for financial gain. It is further alleged that Celeste was a witness to a crime and was intentionally killed because of that fact. It is further alleged that the murder of Celeste was committed by David Anthony Burke and that the defendant intentionally killed the victim by means of lying in wait. It is further alleged that in an attempted commission of the above offense, David Anthony Burke personally used a deadly and dangerous weapon, sharp instrument. By the way, what you're seeing here are special circumstances allegations that could enhance the penalty. So you're talking life in prison, you're talking potential death penalty, even though there's a moratorium on executions in California. So originally, when you had a murder charge, it would be, 25 to life with the possibility of parole. If the jury sides or believes that these special circumstances occurred beyond a reasonable doubt, then you're talking about that enhancement. You're talking about life in prison without the possibility of parole or even the death penalty. And look, we knew that he was being investigated for murder. We didn't know these particular theories, right? The main theory here that was revealed by prosecutors was that Burke allegedly invited Celeste to his house, at which point he was lying in wait to murder her, to kill her, because she was allegedly going to report or expose her alleged sexual relationship with David in some way, that is a crime because she was a minor. So again, the circumstances of that are not entirely clear. I don't know how they're going to prove that, but that seems to be the main theory, which brings me to the next charge. On or between September 7th, 2023 and September 7th, 2024 in the county of Los Angeles.
Oh, she was, I guess he met her when she was,
in violation.
They say he could have met her as early as 12, but he did. I'm pretty sure he knew when she was 13. They found her a day after a day after her 15th birthday. So a day after her birthday, they found her body in his car.
Penal Code Section 288.5. A felony was committed by David Anthony Burke, who did unlawfully engage in 3 and more acts of substantial sexual conduct and 3 or more lewd and lascivious acts with Celeste, a child under the age of 14 years, while the defendant resided with and had recurring access to the child. So not just one alleged occasion, but multiple pattern here. Again, how they'll be able to prove that? Text, witness testimony, videos, I don't know, photographs. It will be interesting. On or about May 5th,
Yeah, that is
2025,
messed up.
the County of Los Angeles. The crime of unlawful mutilation of human remains was committed by David
And by this
Anthony Burke,
motherfucker, I'm talking about.
willfully and unlawfully.
See, this motherfucker will going down doing a tour and shit like that. And them folks, they let him still be on tour for a little bit after they found her body. But after a while, they was like, oh hell nah. Cause I mean the charges alone, bro, like that's gonna make everybody look bad. They say they scrubbed his music off the I think he with UMG. He under the big umbrella. He under UMG.
Mutilate remains known to be human, specifically the remains of Celeste. Now, you're going to see this more from court in a minute, but David's legal team went on the defensive, okay? They issued the following statement. The actual evidence in this case will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death. Such specific language there. Now, in a separate statement on Monday, a lawyer for Mr. Burke's family, Ken Schaefer, said the Burkes are not surprised but are terribly disappointed that the district attorney chose to charge David. Nevertheless, they support and stand by him 100%. Patrick Steinfeld, a lawyer apparently for...
Damn, bro. That's fucked up. That's some bullshit right there. That's some bullshit. Somebody need to kick his fucking ass.
The Rivas Hernandez family said in a statement that family members were, quote, committed to ensuring that Celeste's voice is heard, and added that upon learning of David's arrest,
He looking scared. You know, he looking stunned, amazed, and dazed right now. Like, he look very scary, dog. Like, he look like he going to the booty house, y'all. He going to the booty house.
Mother Jesus Rivas said, thank God justice
Feel
for
for him,
Celeste.
bro.
And then we go to
The
what
charges ain't look too good, buddy.
David's arraignment, okay, where the defense requested an immediate preliminary hearing. I'm going to explain this after.
They got this motherfucker sitting
Also, on
in
behalf of your
this. Hold
client,
on,
you
y'all.
wait for
Hold on. They got this motherfucker sitting behind like a glass cage and shit, looking like type shit. But it's like glass from here to here, like bam, bam. Yeah, that shit is crazy.
We have a complaint, advisement of rights, including armed forces and veterans' rights, and are pleaded not guilty, denying any and all special allegations, enhancements, and priors,
Yes, Your Honor.
and requesting a preliminary hearing within the period.
Yes, Your Honor.
They knew it was coming. He knew it was coming. You could see it on his face.
4 months of secret grand jury proceedings. We believe
he looked worried,
that Mr. Burke is entitled at the earliest opportunity to a open preliminary hearing and the proceedings not.
Yeah, that is some
secret.
bullshit.
So
That's
we're
some-
asking for a preliminary hearing.
That's
to
some
be set
weird, like,
at the
I don't know.
earliest
I don't even know how to
possible
put
date
that.
on the
Like, it's
10th
just
day.
weird
Your Honor,
activity, bro. Like,
We believe the actual evidence.
Y'all should have
shows
known.
David Burke did not murder Celeste.
y'all should have known when this motherfucker put out romantic homicide. Come on now. The man told you in the fucking song. Romantic homicide, bro. Cut it. Watch out, bro.
Rivas Hernandez, nor
Cut it out.
was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that. We're asking for April 23rd as a 3 of 10 hearing.
Buddy
April
Michael here.
23rd, hold on.
I want to invite you to our Pastors and Leaders Conference, June 4th and 5th, right here.
So maintaining his innocence, saying he didn't murder her, not the cause of her death. Again, find that interesting because I do wonder what he's saying here, that there's going to be a battle of experts. It's not entirely clear what caused her death. Are you going to be pointing the finger at someone else? Goes to the idea of the preliminary hearing. So as opposed to a grand jury, which is a secret proceeding, it's more one-sided. You have jurors, you just need a majority to determine there's probable cause to indict. Here you go to a court. In court, you present the evidence by the prosecution to suggest there's probable cause for this case to move forward. The defense has an opportunity to fight back, though, at this hearing. And it's interesting that they're asking for this immediate, they want to put the pressure, it seems, on the prosecution. So again, not the typical grand jury.
So I think Neo them gonna flip. Neo, the other girl, she gonna flip. Them two right there alone, I know the girl gonna flip on his ass, so he really dead in the motherfucking water.
Right. I want you to keep that in mind because again, I interviewed LADA, Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman, who filed these charges. You'll see what he had to say in a minute. But from there, you get a back and forth in court yesterday on discovery, the evidence in the case, a back and forth on the coroner's report. Because as we know, the ME's findings have been sealed, but as you're about to see, maybe not for long.
We have been given almost no discovery thus far. We've received a 3-page follow-up report, no autopsy report, and a copy of the complaint. And we would ask the people respectfully to produce discovery at the earliest opportunity.
Your Honor, as I indicated to counsel, there's approximately 40 terabytes of
40
discovery
terabytes.
in this case. Moreover, in order to obtain the transcripts from a grand jury
40
investigation,
terabytes.
counsel has to file a motion. She knows the way the system works. I'm not able to gather those. They have to be provided after the court orders them released because it was an investigation. Second of all, if counsel plans on going to a preliminary hearing within the 10 days, it is unlikely that there will be very much discovery provided within that period, given the voluminous nature and how long it's going to take to copy onto drives. In addition to that, the coroner's report was sealed in this.
She's saying that they got so much, like the way the time is going, like she was like 40 terabytes of information. That's a lot of information to have to decipher. So that's a lot of information, bro.
Case, in order to prevent it from hampering truthful testimony from witnesses that testified at the grand jury. So an order will also have to be obtained in order to get the coroner's department, which is now the medical examiner's department, to release those materials.
Your Honor, it's surprising news given the district attorney's office held a press conference this morning where they discussed the cause of death, apparently under seal and not released by the coroner's office, as did the robbery homicide.
But I'm trying to figure out how did they figure out that it was homicide though, like
To the press. So we would again reiterate, we
Like,
believe
how did
that
they come? I know she
this
died,
court
but I'm just
has
saying, like,
discovery.
how do we know what
We have
happened? Did
served
she might have
public notice
overdosed? Anything
over
could have
15
happened, bro.
days,
Or he could have actually did what happened. So shit. It really is what it is. I'm just
I asked the court to make an order
I was
today,
done with this
take a copy of the minute order, ordering the department
I was there ready for Buddy to be locked up. That's it.
of the medical examiner to release their coroner's report in this case.
Thank you.
The court will order that the medical examiner release the report in this case.
So it appears that that medical examiner report is going to be released. And when that autopsy
life is
report comes
over,
out,
nigga.
that will hopefully fill in a
Fuck.
lot of the blanks in terms of cause of death, what authorities believe happened to Celeste, the potential use or the alleged use of this shot.
Oh, OG, what up?
And
OG,
as
what up?
Hockey
Appreciate you,
indicated
big
in his
dog.
press
Appreciate
conference
you.
yesterday, he said the coroner has come up with a conclusion. Speaking of the LADA, I spoke with him, Nathan Hochman, on my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live last night. And among other things, I asked him about why David wasn't charged on Friday when he was arrested. when apparently there were these grand jury proceedings that were underway, whether there was any tension between the LAPD and the DA. Like, maybe something happened in the...
I think the police said, man, fuck all that. Y'all got this man walking around free out this bitch. Like, man, lock his ass up, bro.
And jury proceeding, something was a holdup, and they couldn't get back an indictment, and the LAPD arrested David, put pressure on the DA's office to charge. Here was his response.
There's an investigative grand jury that hears testimony, can receive documents or subpoenas, and then there's an indictment grand jury. While we can't comment yet until the grand jury transcripts are unsealed by a court, I can't even confirm that a grand jury has occurred. There have been media reports that certain individuals, both cooperative witnesses and uncooperative witnesses, went in front of the grand jury.
So there was this report that perhaps...
So y'all heard what he said. Both cooperative witnesses and uncooperative witnesses. So that means somebody done already flipped. That's probably why you're in jail now too, though. But somebody flipped already, bro.
You weren't on the same page.
But the thing about that was, even though they went through the grand jury phases before they locked him up, they didn't lock him up. Like, bro, he walked around 7 months, man.
When it came to charging David, your response?
That's completely
Let somebody find an underage person unalived in your car and see how long you're gonna be able to walk around this motherfucker.
We have been on the same...
And in some cases, you better hope the police catch you before the streets do.
page working in lockstep with the LAPD robbery homicide since they picked up this case in September of 2025.
And basically made the argument that preliminary hearings are common here, again, that they're lockstep, on the same page. But obviously I've made a questions here. I really want to know where this is going to go. What are we reading behind the lines? What is the strength of the case? What is the strength of the evidence? I want to bring on friend of the show, friend of mine, trial attorney Rich Schoenstein. Rich, always good to see you. Thanks for taking the time. There's so much to break down here. First of all, the charges. We anticipated that there was going to be a murder charge, right? What we didn't anticipate, or at least I'll speak for myself, multiple theories here, right? Multiple special allegations, lying in wait, witness, financial gain. I didn't see that. And also the sex crimes charges, right? I mean, that was another big one where there had been this thought, if you want to charge David, if you want to go after him, is there not evidence that he was allegedly involved in a sexual relationship with a minor? You could have arrested him earlier on and then figured out the homicide charges. So I'm made of questions here. First, let me ask you the murder charge and the way that...
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
They're charging it. It seems like they're going different paths towards a potential conviction.
Yeah, well, they have three different, you alluded to it, they
Yeah.
have three different special circumstances. They have the theory that, lying in wait, under the theory that he, I guess, was waiting for her. That he did it for financial benefit, and that he did it because she was a witness to the crimes, which takes you back to the sex crime part of it. She was the key witness to those. And those are all special circumstances that get you up to murder one and even potentially make it a death penalty eligible case.
How do they prove that? I interviewed Nathan Hockman. He wouldn't reveal too much about that. Obviously, it's an ongoing case. But how are they going to prove that he specifically was lying in wait, that he lured her to the house, that he was concerned about his career, about her exposing him or allegedly exposing him?
So I don't know, sitting here today, how they're going to prove any of it, except that...
Bruh, I'm trying to figure out, so something wrong with the story, bro. I've seen him and her on live streams together, bro. Like, so how are they going? I'm trying to figure this out, bro. Hold on, run that back. Hold on, run that shit back. What the fuck? Hold on, what did you say? Run that shit back. All right, hold on.
That he was concerned about his career, about her exposing him or allegedly exposing him.
So I don't know, sitting here today, how they're going to prove any of it, except that obviously they can prove that she's dead and that her body was dismembered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only things, and where the body was found. Those are the facts that we know. I imagine through witnesses they can establish her relationship with David, so can probably prove that. But how do they prove without witnesses that it was a sexual relationship? How,
The craziest thing about this, hold on, go back. Hold on, what that nigga just said?
imagine through witnesses, they can establish her relationship with David. So can probably prove that. But how do they prove without witnesses that it's a sexual relationship? How do they prove without witnesses that he is the killer? I think the theory is he lured her in, murdered her, and dismembered her. How are they going to prove that he did that as opposed to somebody in his ambit or somebody else?
A lot of it has been, she went to the house,
Yeah.
no one, she was never seen again.
Yeah.
And that is like what they really focused on. Obviously, they didn't get into more details, but I guess that piece of circumstantial evidence, right? They didn't say there was a smoking gun, they said it was the totality of the evidence. Making sure she showed up to the house and was never seen again, and it was a property that was in, I don't think it was necessarily one that he owned, but it was rented for him where he was staying at. I guess they will establish what? That he was the only one in the house, or?
Maybe, there's nothing wrong with
What's the matter?
circumstantial evidence. There's lots of these cases are built on circumstantial evidence. So,
Damn, that's almost like I done seen circumstantial cases that been one like they couldn't even find the body and the motherfucker still got convicted for the body.
circumstantial evidence is her body was found in his car and it was dismembered. So that is circumstantial evidence. She had a relationship with him. I guess there's evidence that she went to the house, but I don't think we know all the evidence they have because we haven't had this preliminary hearing yet. We haven't seen it. We're going to find out more about the evidence. And the things I'm looking for, what is the scientific evidence, right? They examined her body. What did they find? Did they find his DNA? And what is the witness testimony that they have? Because there's been references to cooperating and non-cooperating.
So yep, somebody flipped. Somebody took the motherfucking bait, bro. They like, shit, who? They like, nigga, he ain't finna lock me up with this crazy motherfucker. Somebody was like, bullshit. Bullshit. They like, man, ain't going to jail with that nigga. Fuck that.
Bringing witnesses,
Nigga, we
who
tell.
exactly is going to say what? I would imagine that's been a lot of the reason these proceedings have been delayed and pretty secretive.
By the way, so you heard me have the back and forth with Nathan Hockman last night, and he said, look, LAPD, DA's office, we've been in lockstep, that, in LA, there's an investigative grand jury that just hears witnesses and maybe locks in testimony, right? And there's a difference between a grand jury that indicts. And there's still people who will look at this and say something's maybe not adding up, right? I mean, even Nathan Hockman said you have cooperating, non-cooperating witnesses. But I guess the question would be, does it make sense to you that he was arrested and then charged versus indicted through a grand jury, arrested, but now they have to go to a preliminary hearing in front of a judge, which I do wonder, is it easier to move forward in a case in a preliminary hearing versus a grand jury? I guess there's a bunch of questions there as we think about it.
It could make sense to me. Again, there's so much here that we don't know about how they got to this point, and you have to choose the strategy if you're a prosecutor. In theory, the question would be, does it make sense to you that he was arrested and then charged versus indicted through a grand jury, arrested, but now they have to go to a preliminary hearing in front of a judge, which I do wonder, is it easier to move forward in a case in a preliminary hearing versus a grand jury? I guess there's a bunch of questions there as we think about it. It could make sense to me. Again, there's so much here that we don't know about how they got to this point, and you have to...
Man, them motherfuckers, hey, that shit do not look nice, bro.
He's right, you know.
That shit do not look nice, bro. That's crazy. Buddy finna do the rest of his life in prison.
Choose the strategy if you're a prosecutor. In theory, it's easier to go to a grand jury because it's completely one-sided. Grand juries usually sign on to what the prosecutors want. That's just a fact of life. So you would think, in theory, it would be easier to go to the grand jury, but you have to be able to present your evidence, and I don't know if there were challenges to presenting the evidence.
Like, I don't know, Buddy just kind of like, I don't know, Buddy got that. Like, he living in a delusional world or some shit. But, hey, he locked up now, so.
What is he doing?
What he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
Oh, hell. Okay, that's awesome.
I don't know if there was a feeling at some point that we just have to move forward and get him arrested and get him off the street. We can't wait anymore to finish this grand jury process. We don't have all the witnesses yet. I don't know what the holdup was. So I'm not going to assess the strategy when I don't have complete information. Sometimes it proceeds this way, and they go to a preliminary hearing, and we will find out then more than we know now about what the evidence is.
I wouldn't be surprised if this dude took his life, bro.
And, I mean, he made it seem LAPD, DA's office, we're in lockstep. I asked him, I said, you know, there is a theory here that LAPD made the arrest, put the pressure on your office to charge because there was some hang up in the grand jury, and he goes, it's unfounded. I interviewed Mark Aragos afterwards, and he seemed to disagree. You know, one of the things I thought was interesting, and I mentioned this to Hotman last night, was like, when there was an arrest, your office
I see
you were
what you're
aware
saying.
of the arrest. Like, that doesn't necessarily, like, we're in this together, we knew about it, I don't know.
That's how Kodak
I
Black.
mean, I have a little bit of.
If you think about it, I mean, they wasn't charged with no murder or nothing, but that's why people like Lil Wayne got out of trouble, got out of, well, no, I know Kodak Black for sure. I know it was Kodak Black. It was a couple he let go, but I know one of them was Kwame Kirkpatrick.
Position there too. The best case would be that they are in lockstep, that they are working together, they are getting along. I suppose pretending to work together is second best. At least they're not actively being hostile with each other. But I don't know what the truth is.
If there was a hang up in the grand jury, what is it? If I'm reading between the lines and it says uncooperative witnesses, why would you need them? Why would you need them? Let's say even you had, isn't there maybe the digital evidence, the forensic evidence enough to establish these potential charges, the probable cause for these charges? Even if you had uncooperative witnesses, what role would they play?
I would think that you had enough evidence to get an indictment in the grand jury. Now,
Should people come to the AI Advantage Summit April 23rd through the 25th?
It's a good ad, isn't it?
I'm just going to wildly speculate here. Suppose non-cooperating witness means we put on a witness in front of the grand jury and they didn't say what we thought they were going to say. And it mucked up our whole presentation because now some witness pointed the finger at somebody else or surprised us or just didn't tell the story we thought they were going to tell. And so now we're left with this grand jury proceeding. We need to present more evidence. We need to hold the grand jury over. We're not totally sure we're going to get.
Man, this shit sound like some goddamn bullshit to me, bro. It sound like some, like, do they know what the fuck they doing, man? Do they know what the fuck they doing?
Indictment, so we're just going to do it this other way.
This went into another question that I had with him. If the allegations are true, it may be hard for people to believe David allegedly did this all on his own. A singer who allegedly kills this 14-year-old girl, dismembers her, stuffs her into the trunk of his car in bags. It's a lot for one person to theoretically do, and yet he's the only one charged, which begs the question, are there cooperating witnesses? And you're going to make deals with somebody who potentially was involved?
Man, this motherfucker really thought he was goddamn Lenny Kravitz or some shit. Like, man, if you don't sit your goofy looking ass. Goofy, dog.
So, well, you asked a good question, and you said a lot of things about David, and the thing you didn't say is he's very young.
Yeah.
21 years old.
Yeah. So this 21-year-old
21.
kid, and I'm sorry, 21 is still a kid, right?
Well, I will tell you, by the way, I get a lot of heat online. People say, don't call him a kid. He's a man.
He is legally a man, and we tried as an adult, but in terms of decision-making, I think if you talk to medical people, they will tell you your brain is not fully formed until you're like 26 years old. But put that aside. It is hard to imagine him on his own concocting the plan, committing the murder, doing the dismembering, going out and getting body bags, putting them in the trunk of his car, entirely on his own.
Somebody help. Somebody help.
Oh, that does seem to me implausible. It seems to me more likely that there was somebody else involved on one or more parts of that. And that could be what this investigation has been having to deal with.
Yeah, somebody might still get off if they tell them what they want to hear, or they tell them what they need to sink them.
When I listened to the press conference, when I listened to Hockman last night, it seems to me they're not completely closing the door and charging somebody else. And if you're asking me what would change, whether or not that person decides to cooperate. If they decide to no longer cooperate, maybe they would be charged. I might be 100% wrong, but is that what's maybe going on?
That sounds totally plausible. The idea in these kind of scenarios that you have people who are deciding if they want to be witnesses or defendants. And remember, if there are people who are involved, they don't want to testify adverse to him. If they're friends of his, they don't want to testify adverse to him. There's different kinds of help, right? There could be people who help plan it. There could be people who help do it. There could be what we call accessories after the fact.
Yeah, accessory
there
after
could
the
just be
fact.
people who know about it or think they know about it. And so if you're a prosecutor, your pitch to a lot of those people is, do you want to be a witness or do you want to be a defendant?
Yeah.
And it depends if they...
I think it say that shit like this. Do you want to go home or do you want to go to jail?
think that he is the one
That was one of them lines.
who is really responsible for this horrible, violent act.
That nigga going to the booty house. Bruh.
Then they will make deals with others in order to pin the responsibility on him.
What about this idea? I thought it was very interesting where the defense says that not only did David not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, he's not the cause of her death. That's very specific. It makes me wonder, is there a debate about how she died? Is there a debate about what caused her death?
That's what I'm saying. That's what we're trying to figure out right now. What actually happened? We know she did. We trying to figure out how did she die? What happened, bro? That's what we trying to figure out.
Are we talking, there might be a battle of medical experts to determine. I mean, we don't, again, at the time of this recording, we don't even have the autopsy report. We don't know the cause of death. But am I wrong in thinking that's maybe where they're going? And I don't think they have that.
That is what I thought when I heard that language too. He is not the cause of her death. Are they going to say the death was accidental, but some people, one or more people, tried to get rid of the body?
Bro, how you accidentally kill somebody unless you like in a car or some bullshit?
He's right, you know.
Come on, man. Come on.
Or are they going to say somebody else did it and then one or more people tried to get rid of the body? Are they going to say David, at the end of the day, they're going to say David didn't do it, had no connection, had no knowledge of it. But when you make a more limited statement like he was not the cause of the death, that leads you to suspect it's a more nuanced defense.
Yeah, in court they indicated they didn't have the autopsy report. That's why the court said we're going to basically release it. So how can they make a statement like that unless he told them something?
Yeah.
So yeah, so somebody flipped. That's what I'm saying. Whoever flipped told them how he did it. Had to. I'm gonna run that back, bro. Run that shit back, bro. See why?
That leads you to suspect it's a more nuanced defense.
Yeah, in court they indicated they didn't have the autopsy report. That's why the court said we're going to basically release it. So how can they make a statement like that unless he told them something?
Yeah, well, right. So they would have to have information about how it was she did die, which means he is involved at some level.
And then the question would be, even if you're not responsible for the death per se, there are other crimes here that appear to have been committed. I mean, starting with the sex crimes, because it sounds like this legal adult, as you say, was having a relationship with a 13-year-old, which is not legal.
And look, the state of her body, the decomposition, dismemberment, I do wonder if that's going to complicate cause of death.
That's definitely gonna complicate them making a focused decision if it's, you know what I'm saying, the whole focus on how she died. Like that's, yeah, the decomposition gonna really make that hard.
Remember in the press conference, he indicated, Nathan Hockman indicated that the coroner, the medical examiner, did come up with a conclusion as to cause of death. But if they're debating it, the defense, I wonder if there's room.
Yeah, I think that defense would point, the defense is gonna put the prosecution to the test of proving cause of death, and then of tying that cause of death to this defendant. That's gonna be the difficult aspect, and the prosecution's going to try to help that with this motive stuff, right? She was going to be a threat to his future impending stardom, and she was a witness to things that were criminal acts, and therefore he wanted her out of the way. That's why they're gonna lean into motive in the prosecution of this case. You don't even have to prove motive generally to get a murder conviction, but it helps.
Let's just take a step back. We talked so much about this preliminary hearing. Some people...
Hold on, what did he say about a murder conviction? Hold on.
That's why they're gonna lean into motive in the prosecution of this case. You don't even have to prove motive generally to get a murder conviction, but it helps.
Let's just take a step back. We talked so much about this preliminary hearing. Some people might be like, well, what are you talking about? What is a preliminary hearing? So if you can explain what a preliminary hearing is and why the defense would want it immediately. Like they want a preliminary hearing as soon as possible.
Yeah, the defense, so that is a key strategy decision that defendants always have to make. Sometimes they waive a preliminary hearing because they don't want the evidence presented publicly, and they know what the evidence is and they don't want to see it right away. Sometimes they insist on a preliminary hearing. It is an in-court presentation of the evidence of the probable cause for these charges. It's not a full trial on the merits, but it's a presentation by the prosecution of the evidence they have. And if your strategy includes a possible argument that they didn't even have enough evidence to charge this, then you want to have the preliminary hearing right away and put the prosecution to the test. Show us what you have. And if you suspect that your prosecutors don't really have their heart in this prosecution, that the police are pushing them, which is one of the theories we went over, then maybe that makes you want to put it to the test. Make them go to court. Make them put this evidence on. We want to know exactly what they have, exactly what they're saying, and we want to be able to challenge it right now.
How much of the evidence from the prosecution is usually presented in a preliminary hearing versus a trial down the road?
A lot of it. I mean, there's not much reason.
And cases develop, investigations.
Yeah, investigations develop. There's not, I mean, for example, if you had scientific evidence, which you should have by the time you get to a preliminary hearing, there'd be no reason not to present that. If you have basic evidence about their relationship and your theory of the case, you would present that.
And would we know who potential cooperating witnesses are?
Maybe.
Maybe.
And right, because that's another issue as to how quiet they're trying to keep that. They got to disclose it to him at some point, so.
Yeah. Okay, look, this is a very big development. There's things that are rapidly happening almost every day now. At the time of this recording, we're still waiting for the autopsy report to be released, and I asked Nathan Hockman about this last night, but I imagine that's going to fill in a lot of pieces of this puzzle. I mean, if he's talking about a sharp instrument, if they're talking about what the cause of death is, that autopsy report is going to say a lot. What would you be looking out for there?
I mean, they got some damn grisly evidence, bro.
Yeah, well, I want to see what it says is the cause of death, and is it conclusive? And does that support the theory of the case that this 21-year-old committed this crime, committed the murder, right? Well, we'll get to the other stuff, and then you have to figure out how are they proving he committed the dismemberment. That's a separate issue. But people want to know what the cause of death was and how certain they are on it. As you know, sometimes autopsy reports aren't certain, and that's a problem in this kind of process.
Look, I think it's going to be really, really interesting to explore this and see where it goes. Because again, it's 7 months that people have been waiting for some sort of answer. And to be clear, David is innocent until proven guilty. His attorneys are saying that he didn't do this. So we will see what happens. We'll see what happens when the preliminary hearing happens. Rich Schoenstein, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Always glad to.
Nah, he can't get no pardon. Not for that. Hell nah. You can't, bro. I don't give a damn how much money you donated. I don't give a damn if you donated $1 billion, bro. Under these circumstances, bro, you don't get no pardon, bro.
And
Of course, continue. And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, y'all check out. We was just checking out the Law and Crime Network. Nah, I don't want to do that. See what's up with Brick Baby. Oh yeah, we checking out Poetic Flacco. That's what we reacted to. So y'all go check out Poetic Flacco's channel.
You know, it took some time for me to actually having to heal for things I.
Brick Baby is beyond cooked. The fans just checkmated Brick Baby and got him in a lose-lose situation.
I said that nigga got checkmated. Shit. That nigga Dirk fucked up too. Dirk in there with Brick Baby. Like for real spirit. Yeah, that shit that fucked up, man.
And that he can't really win. We'll get back to the video shortly, but I want to let you guys know this video is being sponsored by Kalshi. Kalshi is an app where you can make money predicting current events. I put money on what the weather is going to be every day on Kalshi. I check the weather app when I wake up. And really all I do is I look at what the highest temperature is going to be for the day. Then I go on Kalshi and place a prediction on what I think the highest temperature is going to be for the day. I'll say probably 7 out of 10 times my weather prediction hits. Sometimes it doesn't hit. But if you want to get paid by predicting weather on a daily basis, you can do so on Kalshi by clicking the link in my description and downloading the app and using code FLACCO to get $10 in your first deposit. Brick Baby was initially arrested during Operation Drawdown. That's the operation that seen Big U get indicted, Loose Cannon get indicted. Now, Brick Baby was never involved or included in the Big U RICO that Loose Cannon and other neighborhood 60s were. The grand jury returned a multiple count indictment on Brick Baby. The first count was being in possession of spent shell cases that he shot in a public parking lot in July 12th of 2022. He was still in possession of the shell casing. The second count that hit Brick Baby with was being in possession of firearms and ammunition as a felon.
Oh, I'm like, no, all he had was shell casings. Like, oh, you got firearms and ammunition.
Now, they listed a bunch of things they found at Brick Baby house. I'm not gonna go through every single one of them. But when you go down a list and actually read what they discover at Brick Baby's house, the list would make you think that this was a raid they did in Baghdad or something, bro. I didn't know that civilians walked around with ammunition like this and guns like this. It was crazy. Now, Brick Baby realized fairly shortly they got a lot on me, and they worked out a plea deal. Now, when the plea deal was announced, it was very hopeful to a lot of people who was behind the scenes who care for Brick Baby, because it was presented to us, based on this plea deal, Brick Baby would essentially get about 5 years, probably be home in about 2 years.
So apparently he's going to find out how long he gets next month. So likely what's going to happen is he's accepted this plea, he's accepted the conditions that are in there that are basically breaking down the potential maximum guidelines. He's probably now going to have to file for bail and he's going to await his sentencing. But hopefully we've been waiting for this for a long time, and I'm glad that we're not seeing any more serious crazy charges. It's looking like all that he's really faced on this situation is these guns and ammunition. And you know, frankly, I'm gassed that we're not seeing any violence, we're not seeing any other more serious allegations in there, especially considering how serious a lot of the allegations were surrounding this whole Big U case with the whole rolling 60s RICO. It was looking very serious. So to me, this is looking like it's pretty crazy, and hopefully we're going to be seeing Brick back outside very soon, man, because You know what I mean? It's right now it's firearms, it's ammunition. You know, nobody's getting hurt.
The feds was probably watching this documentary, and because at this time, nobody, even Brig Baby, didn't know the feds just pulled a fast one on him. And what he thought he was gonna get was nowhere close to what the feds planned on trying to get him. Now, Brig Baby will find out when he went to his next court day to talk about what his sentence was gonna be. And it was at this court date he found out the feds was trying to give him 115 months minimum. So Brick filed a motion like, yo, they tricked me. Yo, they trying to give me 115 months. What are y'all doing? And the motion that Brick filed says, yo, the government has now abandoned
115 months.
The framework entirely. The framework that I thought I was going to get sentenced under, they completely abandoned it. They tricked me. Now, Brick Baby and his lawyers will say in its sentencing memorandum filed December 5th, 2025, the government adopted probation's calculation of a total offense level of 23 and a guideline range of 92 to 115 months. That's roughly double what Brick Baby was led to believe he faced when he agreed to plead guilty. Brick Baby then files a motion and he says, listen, they tricked me. This is not cool. I want another judge to sentence me, or I want to abandon this plea deal and I want to take it to trial. And the prosecution and the state said, oh,
You ain't gonna take that shit to trial.
really? Oh, word? Where did we trick you at, Brick Baby? That's what they said. Show us where did we trick you. Show us the proof. Brick said, I got the proof. I got the evidence. I kept the receipts of where y'all tricked me at. They said, show it to us then. Show us where we tricked you.
Got it! Got it!
That's fucked up.
They sat back and they said, give him an extension of the deadline. We wanted to see where we tricked him at. So Brick Baby and his attorney gathered up the paperwork and they brought it to court and they said, Your Honor, here is the email, here's the documents. The first piece of evidence they provided to the court was this email. Now, before Brick Baby accepted the plea deal, his attorney reached out to get an understanding of what they'll be pushing for and what type of time he can expect. Because, obviously that plays a factor in whether or not he's going to accept the plea deal or not. So they responded back to Brick Baby's attorney, pretty much estimating his base offense level. The base offense level is essentially, in layman terms, how big of a criminal Brick Baby is. And they factored...
So they factored in your history. That's what turned that shit up. So he got bad records, so that shit make it, make it harder for you, bro.
Damn, son.
That's crazy.
Oh my God! In his prior criminal history to get the base offense level. So if we both commit the same crime, however, your criminal history have relevant conduct, well, your base offense level will be higher and you will get, more time than me. So the email reads, if I'm doing the grouping rules correctly, I think the court will use 22 as the offense level and there won't be any upward adjustment for multiple counts because the other counts are too low. With acceptance of responsibility, that would mean the total offense level is 19. But yes, the court will be able to consider the other conduct generally as sentencing. The reason why we wanted to include it in this case is because if he is going to accept responsibility, we would rather not have to file a new indictment against him or anything fraud related. You're about to witness in real time how deceptive and tricky these people are. So Brick Baby asked for a pre-plea report because the email is informal. They can say whatever in the email. The pre-plea report is something more formal, more legally binding for the most part. And he could present the pre-plea report and say, yo, this is what I was told. The email is just them like, yeah, you may get this, may not get this, and who knows. But the pre-plea report would have been more formal. They tell Brick Baby, yeah, we have no objection to doing the pre-plea report if you want it. Although, unfortunately, we don't know how long that would take. And if you're trying to get this over with the sentence as fast as possible, then, the pre-plea report might get in the way of that. They even laid it even more thick on Brick Baby. They said, listen, all right, we have to list in the sentencing guidelines that you are a career offender. But check this, they told Brick Baby, I agree. I don't think he's a career offender. We just have to include that in the plea agreement so that he's advised his guidelines theoretically could defer in our situation, right? It could, theoretically change, but everything.
Yeah, man, it seems like some real bullshit, something going on, something fishing in the water with this story, but yeah, man, I hope the man come home soon. As long as he ain't hurt nobody or kill him, he should be alright.
And theoretically change, that's just mumble jumble. It means nothing. Don't even worry about it. Nobody thinks Brick Baby is a career offender. That's what they're telling Brick Baby to get him to sign that plea deal. Brick Baby would also provide some documents that shows that the feds told him, hey, you'll only be pleading guilty to count 2, we'll dismiss count 1, and we will reject and prosecute you for the FEMA fraud. Brick says, y'all told me y'all will dismiss the other 2 charges, but I show up to court and you guys is bringing that up. What's going on here? Y'all tricked me. The fed says, no, we didn't. Did you read your plea agreement? Did you read it? No? Okay. Let's go do it. So the feds just responded back to Brick Baby today. They responded back with their response. And they essentially laid out how they tricked Brick Baby into accepting a plea deal that he had no...
Kids, that's why reading is fundamental. Damn. You gotta read these contracts. That's why, it's better to be what they call it. It's better to be off the independent side when you're doing music and shit. So
idea he was accepted. Brick Baby was expecting to be classified as a Category 19 criminal for layman.
When you sign to somebody like how Drake signed to,
because the average person don't know what a DOL or a PSR is. So Brick Baby thought that because of his plea deal, he'll be categorized as a Category 19 criminal. How did he get 19? Well, the base level offense, right? The base offense level would be 20. The enhancements for having multiple firearms as a felon will be +2. You get to 22. You take away 3 for accepting the plea deal and taking accountability and responsibility. So they take away 3, and that's how you get 19. And with the 19, he will qualify for a sentence as low as 5 years. But the feds did some tricky math to make sure Brick Baby actually gets categorized as a Category 23 criminal that would demand a sentence of 115 months, at minimum 92 months. And remember when they told him, don't worry about the career criminal disclaimer, that's nothing. Well, that's the first thing they brought up. These folks...
That's bad funny. Damn, but your ass is going down.
Well, if you read the document, in paragraph 12, we stated that defendant and the USAO reserve the right to argue that additional specific offense characteristics, adjustments, and departure under the sentencing guidelines are appropriate. Paragraph 12 also contained a carve-out stating that the base offense level could be increased if defendant is a career offender or an armed career criminal, or if defendant has additional prior convictions for either a crime of violence or a controlled substance offense under blank, 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 blank. If defendant's base level is so altered, defendant and the USAO would not be bound by the base offense level agreed to above. Brick Baby and the feds both agreed that his base offense level would be 20. Brick Baby believed that if my base offense level is 20 and they gave me a +2 enhancement for the multiple firearms and they take away 3 due to me accepting the plea deal into...
Oh, that's goddamn math shit, bro. Like, just going, bro. You going. Fucked up.
Taking accountability, That puts me at 19. The feds, when it was offering Brick Baby that, they already knew they was about to cook Brick Baby with the other stuff because they have like Brick Baby's full criminal history already. So nothing they saw after that plea deal surprised them. They already had his entire criminal record. And Brick Baby tried to argue that, like, hold on, y'all already had my criminal record. What do you, like, but what you talk, like, y'all gave me my base offense level, and y'all told me I could expect this. Y'all already had my criminal history. Nothing y'all found afterwards is a problem.
Bruh. It was like he got tricked up the road. Yeah, he got tricked up the road, y'all. Tricked up the road.
Y'all, if Fed said, oh, we don't know what to tell you, buddy, you agreed to this. But here's where they really cook Brick Baby, man, and these people are slick, bro. They said, Brick, if you look at your plea agreement, which I'll be real, why is Brick Baby's lawyer surprised by any of this? Isn't the lawyer supposed to be the one who do their homework? The Fed says, hey, Brick, if you look at your plea agreement, you pled guilty to count 2. Felon in possession of firearms and ammunition in violation of the 18 USC. And you admit to certain additional relevant conduct. Even though we dismiss count 1 and the FEMA fraud charges, we agree not to prosecute you for them. Well, sir, you, in your plea deal, you agreed to admit additional relevant conduct. So even though you were not prosecuted for it, you still admitted to your parts in count 1 in the FEMA fraud. And because you admitted to it and you agreed as relevant conduct, well, we can factor that in on your base offense level. They says, right, you admitted to certain additional relevant conduct, including his count 1 conduct in uncharged FEMA fraud. In exchange, the government agreed, among other things, to move to dismiss count 1 as sentencing and not to further prosecute defendant for the fraud-related conduct. The government did not agree, however, to recommend any particular sentence. I don't know where Brick Baby found his lawyer at. I don't know. But this is not Brick Baby's fault. This is his lawyer's fault. His lawyer is supposed to spot this. His lawyer is supposed to do everything in her power to make sure that everything is like on the up and up. The feds literally tricked him. They finessed him, right? They had him thinking, count 1 is dismissed. Brick thinking, man, I don't got to deal with that. He even says, yo, like count 1, they already knew about count 1. So why is this being factored in after I took a plea deal when this should have been factored in before? They like, bro, that's not how this works. We can factor in anything we want to factor in, especially if you agree that this can be cited as additional conduct. Oh my God, man. I'm praying for Brick Baby, man. Obviously, that's my friend, that's my guy. I don't ever want to see him in this situation. So I'm praying Brick Baby gets a fair deal, man. But right now, it looks like it's pretty much cooked. Let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think, man? If you're a Brick Baby...
Hey, I check out Poetic Flopper, but it look like Brick Baby ass going to jail. That's ugly. Going to Trap More Ross, y'all. Originated by Trap More Ross.
Why record just one side of the story? Record with both front and back cameras at the same time. Choose your layout, hit record, and you're live.
Going to Trap More Ross.
Well, it's been a minute since we had a good old-fashioned paperwork party, and now it looks like some David paperwork has finally dropped, and we're going to get to it, okay? In this case, we're not looking for no snitches, we're not looking for no rats, we're looking for murderers, and we're looking for the murder weapon, because reportedly, they're now saying that apparently this sharp instrument that was used to kill Celeste might have actually even been recovered, and David's cooked. It's just a case of what utensils are we going to be cooking him with now, okay? Is it the sharp instrument, maybe the barbecue pitchfork, maybe the spatula. We got a whole bunch. We got options when it comes to cooking this clown. Okay, so let's get into the paperwork. I'm going to break down everything that is going on with this situation. That basically we didn't have this before. All right, we've been waiting for this. But I'm delighted. I'm not going to lie. I'm delighted to be seeing this. So we now have the felony complaint filed in the Superior Court of California against David, and it's got a lot more details on his charges. You know, there's not a great depth of detail in this, but it does provide sort of a very basic timeline of events. And it gives just a little bit more information, just teases up with a little bit more information. As you can see, it's the people of the state of California versus David Anthony Burke, soon to be David Anthony Cooked.
All I do is
So basically it says on or about April 20.
I'll go, you know, I make posters, all that kind of shit. So if you want to invest in yourself as an artist, and I make beats.
The most important investment for an artist is their production. Purchase this beat today.
2025, in the county of Los Angeles, the crime of murder was committed by David, who unlawfully, with malice aforethought, murdered Celeste, a human being. Let's not forget, this is a human being. This isn't a bag in the trunk of a Tesla. This isn't a joke. This is. Don't let them punk you like that. Stand like a man. The old man, as you call him, don't run nothing outside.
Yeah. I gotta go back to trap. Mr. did it.
Folks, it's been a minute since we had a good old-fashioned paperwork party. And now it looks like a bit more information, just teases up with a little bit more information. As you can see, it's the people of the state of California versus David Anthony Burke, soon to be David Anthony Cooked. So basically it says on or about April 23rd, 2025, in the county of Los Angeles, the crime of murder was committed by David, who unlawfully, with malice aforethought, murdered Celeste, a human being. Let's not forget, this is a human being. This isn't a bag in the trunk of a Tesla. This isn't a joke. This isn't GTA. This is a real human being, a 14-year-old, got murdered by this absolute clown. And what's interesting about this is on or about April.
All I gotta say to David is,
congratulations, he played himself.
April 23rd. So obviously we're hearing about this April 23rd date. Looks like he's having his first court date on April 23rd now. And it is believed that not only did he kill her on April 23rd, but it took place in Los Angeles. So we sort of knew these things, but it's putting it in black and white.
23rd. What's it? 23rd. 23rd, 2025. Hold on, I want to mess this up.
Look at it. Let's go. What's that, baby? Look at this.
Trapmore gang, we are back with another update on the David cookout, and things aren't looking good for David. It sounds like he's already having a very hard time behind. He is rolling around with a reputation as a PDF file murderer, and it sounds like there are probably a few people that would love to just get hold of the little 5'1" twerp inside the county in the LA
he
County
filed
Jail.
one?
And I don't know what.
He 5'1", but when he get to jail, it's gonna be. That shit gonna be ugly when he get to jail, bro.
The Hispanic community might not be feeling him after what he did to Celeste. I think that, just anybody that hates anyone that did crimes against children is going to be looking to catch that fade with David. And apparently he has already rolled it up. All right, he's already rolled it up in the county. He's ducking all the fades and he's headed straight for protective custody. So this is the latest, all right? David all alone in segregation at the new jail. He's rolling it up, people, all right? Having a tough time in there, okay? all alone in segregation at new jail. There he is, all right, looking like he's behind plastic. David is getting cozy in a new jail cell. He was transferred to the LA County Men's Central Jail just before 10 p.m. Monday, PMG has learned. The romantic homicide singer won't be able to make many friends in the clinic. A rep for the LA County Sheriff's Office tells us because David has been placed in segregation because he's a noteworthy inmate, which means he'll be alone with his thoughts most of the day. Is it really because he's a noteworthy inmate? I don't think he's going to have too much motion in the county, all right? I think it's probably exactly why you think. If they don't like his kind, all right? David got a weird case. Why is he around?
David got a weird case.
So the Men's Central Jail has an inmate capacity of 5,640 inmates and houses criminals of all security levels. As we told you, David's been held without bail at the 77th Street Jail Station.
So he had county. I thought they would have put him, but nah, he got like that's still a state charge. It's not fair. That's not a federal case. So he going to the state. He in county, but like Dirk and them at MDC. And LA, they got MDC in New York where Diddy was at. They got MDC out there in LA. That's where Dirk and them at right now. Big U and all them. Brick Bay.
Station jail after detectives arrested him last Thursday on suspicion of murdering 14-year-old Celeste Reedus. So there were rumors going around that I spoke about previously where they were saying this 77th Street jail was apparently very, very rough and dangerous. It apparently covers a lot of the areas that cover the Blade in LA where the pimps and hoes be rolling, a lot of the gang units, a lot of South Central. So he might have been locked in with them Bloods and Crips for a minute. And now he's having to roll it up and he's on that segregation. So Redditors have been reacting to news that he was placed in segregation, all right? Probably in fear of his life. People saying, ha, 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 he's going to go nuts in there. Brother, he's nuts already.
He's nuts already, bro. To unalive a little girl, bro, that's nuts, bro. That's nuts, my nigga, for real. Like,
congratulations, you played yourself.
Yeah, that's some goofy shit.
Hey, right? They're saying isolation, nothing to distract himself from the situation. No drugs, no video games, no escape. He's probably already been having mental trouble. Months and months knowing he will one day be arrested and most likely not be free for a very long time, if ever. For these months, he has been very rich and could buy whatever he wanted, but he can't go anywhere and do anything due to the public attention. So he probably remained all these months locked down at home, not many visitors, getting high, eating food, sleeping, doing whatever to avoid the fear of what's coming. Constant anxiety because one day they are coming, he just didn't know when. Not working or anything, just laying around all day trying to enjoy whatever pleasures he can before he loses them for a very long time. Apparently segregation sucks, you don't.
Segregation look like. This is what segregation look like. Segregation.
Access to a phone whenever you want. Maybe you can get a tablet, but that wasn't the case of the last thing that I saw. Payphone type phones were rolled over to you and given to you through a little door. Lights are usually kept on. You get a mat sheet and a blanket. You won't have access to commissary yet. He probably doesn't have a shower in his cell. So that means showers will usually be a couple of days for a limited amount of time. People saying, why in the world would you take the time to dismember this poor girl? Put her remains.
He'll have a long time to figure it out.
Body bags, then let his Tesla get towed to a impound lot where it sat for weeks. It makes no sense. What was he thinking on Baby Better Yet? He wasn't thinking. Because, I mean, if he was obsessed enough about her to constantly snitch on himself and his music, I wouldn't put it past him to hang on to her rotten body. To be fair, it felt half-assed and they could have easily buried her remains in the desert and no one would have ever known. But him not being able to let her go would explain the weird nature of why she was kept in that Tesla so close by.
Trust. Why'd you go and run your mouth? Talking about my secrets and you can't keep. I need you to hush. Maybe this is just my luck. No one ever tells you love is tough. Maybe this is just
man. Fuck.
For no real reason, very her and wanting her to be accessible. But anyway, let's not have an argument about why you didn't get rid of her. I want to know about all of this. Okay? I want to know about him being in PC, right? Shouldn't there be a new booking photo of him in a blue uniform? That's a good point. In LA County Jail now. Waiting to see that new blue uniform, okay? it is interesting. So there's been a lot of other little developments and a few interesting things that have been going on that I can talk about in my previous video. So I'm going to break them down to you in this video for some pretty interesting updates. So apparently the rental home from the Celeste murder is now up for lease. What do you think, chat? Should we move in? Should we move in? It's $23,000 a month. Let's not move in, actually. That's too rich for my blood. If I could get it for a month, might run it up and make some content there. If we could get it for the month that the verdict's going on, but that's 23 grand a month. I'm doing all right there. That's too rich for my blood. Fucking hell. This David guy was making some bread. So the Hollywood Hills home where David had been living and where Celeste spent time in prior to her death is back up for rent. Marketed as a peaceful luxury escape despite its unsettling ties. Property tucked in the Hollywood Hills quietly hit the rental market about 3 weeks ago. Fully furnished with high-end finishes, a private pool, seamless indoor-outdoor living, despite a sickly smell that's been reported in the house. $23,950 a month. 4-bedroom, 4.5 baths, 4,300 square feet, outside terraces, lounge areas, secluded pool, private resort-like hillside setting. You could do anything there. No one would know. All right. This was the property that was raided by the LAPD. And we saw all sorts of stuff going out of there. It was apparently left a lot of stuff behind. I'd love to go play that piano, man, and just go hang out, just kick it in David's old crib. But anyway, we're waiting for some updates on the court situation. He's back in court on the 23rd, which is Thursday. But now that David has been arraigned, we're waiting for this preliminary hearing on the 23rd. And this will give you kind of a bit of a backstory on what the next steps are when it comes to a case like this. So this is the timeline of a typical criminal case, and it'll give you a little bit of breakdown of exactly how this is going to go down. So the pre-preliminary hearing, which is what I believe we saw, was a court date, an opportunity for the attorney to request additional discovery, which I believe they did, negotiate with the prosecution, potentially discuss the case with a judge. It's common to have several of these court dates while your attorney works on getting you the best results. Your presence is usually a formality, and your attorney will do all the work. So we've seen day to day, can't really do nothing, ain't saying nothing, but we get what's going on. So the preliminary hearing is what's coming on the 23rd. In felony cases, a preliminary hearing or examination is held to determine if there is probable cause, a low hurdle to clear, and to charge someone with a felony. In this hearing, it's almost like a mini trial. Attorneys can call witnesses to testify to the facts of what happened. At the close of the hearing, your attorneys may be able to move for dismissal of charges, modify bail, or reduce charges to a misdemeanor, depending on the facts. Then there's the secondary motions day. After the prelim hearing, there may be an additional opportunity for the attorney to make motions, for example, motion to dismiss the charges against you, lol, that's not happening, or reduce them to misdemeanors based on the facts presented, not happening. Then what?
So tomorrow, you're probably gonna get indicted tomorrow.
We've all been waiting for the trial, okay? Let's effing go. Did I miss some stuff? Was I supposed to go left to right? I've screwed this up massively. My bad. It's supposed to go this way. Sorry. I just started reading left to right like a normal person. So, all right, there's the arraignment. So we saw the arraignment. My bad, all right? I think the preliminary hearing is coming on the 23rd. That's what we're waiting for. Maybe there was a Anyway, I messed this up. The arraignment's first. First court date where you plead not guilty if you intend to fight your case. If you don't have an attorney, that's when one will be appointed to you. Sometimes that's when bail is addressed. So I don't know if the arraignment and the pre-preliminary hearing will both kind of one and the same, because they did request additional evidence. But then we'll be looking at the pre-trial motions. So before the preliminary hearing, or in the case of a misdemeanor before trial, the attorney will have an opportunity to make motions before the court. These could include motions to reduce or grant bail, or motions to exclude certain evidence, not happening. Then the preliminary hearing, looking at the probable cause, the charging. Things have been a little bit messed up because we had this grand jury that convened, and even though that didn't seem to lead to charges initially, I think they've got everything they need. So it says after the preliminary hearing, there'll be a second arraignment, or if you're indicted by a grand jury, that won't happen. So I think he might end up, I don't know if he was indicted by the grand jury or if maybe we skip this section, but basically the attorney will get a bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what the flow was going on with that, but let me see. Trump allegedly tried to gain access to movie code. What? Hold on, bro. We're on the Willoughby Live. This is, what, 6 hours ago? Y'all check out Willoughby Live. It's like breaking news. Hold on. They said Trump tried to get the codes and they wouldn't give it to him.
Watch
for a
this.
nuclear strike.
No internet at all.
What's up, family? A shocking new claim is now circulating that Donald Trump, your president, may have pushed for nuclear action against Iran over the weekend. Yeah, fam. They're saying that this dude is off his rocker, he's completely unhinged. But here's the issue. There's no confirmed evidence backing up this story. So where did the story come from? Because if it is true, it's massive. If not, it begs the question how this type of claim is getting out there. You know, if this type of claim can be made, if true, it also begs the question how this information is getting out there and what level of secrecy and protection is in place for these type of things. This type of stuff that we as Americans are supposed to find out 30, 40 years down the line. Not like within hours after it happens. Can you say leak, boys and girls? Yeah. So where did this come from? The claim originates from comments made by former CIA officer Larry Johnson during an April 20th appearance on Judging Freedom, a podcast and YouTube talk show hosted by former Fox News analyst Andrew Napolitano. Johnson alleged that an emergency session at the White House.
An emergency session. So look, starting off emergency session at the White House.
Turned confrontational when General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, reportedly stood his ground against a presidential directive. According to Johnson, the exchange was apparently quite a blow-up, resulting in General Kane allegedly refusing to facilitate the use of the so-called nuclear codes. As evidence, the podcast featured footage of Kane walking on the White House grounds with his head down. Later in the episode, Napolitano shows footage of the general walking outside on the White House grounds with his head down. However, Newsweek has found no independent corroboration of this exchange. While high-level meetings did take place on April 18th to discuss the expiration of the Iran ceasefire, no credible news organization or government official has verified that the Nuclear Launch Authority was ever invoked. No credible news organization except, will it be? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? But fam, these mainstream outlets have not been credible in a long time. When I say a long time, I mean since its inception, because mainstream media has always been in collusion with the government. Always.
That's true.
This is part of the deal. This is part of why they're allowed to operate. See, here's how it goes, fam. Nothing, and I mean nothing, that goes on in this country goes on without the permission or the allowance of government. Nothing. And almost nothing goes on without government involvement to some extent. Yeah. So don't think when you hear these stories in mainstream media, just because these people are using pretty words and they got nice slogans and all of this stuff, you know, talking about fair and balanced or your news, your way and all that. Man, that's game. They're just talking. These people are in cahoots with the government. At every level, even Hollywood. When you watch those films about things going on in government, and you're wondering why it happens just a few years later.
They got another Stephen King movie coming out. I don't know if it's out yet, but it's called damn, what is the name of that movie? It's about aliens. It's something day.
The government is preparing you for such change. Especially when things are a certain way and they know it's gonna be a hard sell to the American people, what they do is they finance a movie and they make sure that the movie is not just a regular movie. They make sure it's a blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
They make sure that the movie gets a lot of attention, oftentimes rewards and other accolades, right? They make sure that that happens because the idea is to brainwash you into believing a certain thing that they want you to believe in.
So it's basically they traumatize the monetize. For real. They traumatize the monetize. That's how they doing it out here, bro.
Accepting something that you otherwise would not accept had you not been convinced via entertainment. That is the game. There are so many movies out there that the government, blockbuster movies, that the government has financed. They finance these movies because it's easier to put up $50 million or $10 million or even $100 million for a movie, and they don't get the money back. But it's easier to put that up and get a return on their investment so they can get their money back and they can get the message out. Whereas oftentimes, we're just trying to put the message out and just trying to go through the media, you know, the traditional route. They may not see any money back, and it may not be as convincing. But if you want to convince people of something, if you want people to
put it in a movie,
buy into a program, a thought, if you want them to.
That's why it's called program. Shit, program in your mind, bro. That's why it's called program.
Support a cause, entertain them. Entertain them. And you can get them. You can absolutely get them. Remember, let's go back for a moment. Remember the kiss? Remember the kiss? They called it the kiss. The first time there was a same-sex kiss on television. Ellen DeGeneres. DeGeneres. Is it DeGeneres? DeGeneres. DeGeneres, yeah. DeGeneres. What's her name? Ellen. Okay, how about that? Ellen. She had that show, Will and Grace. And she kissed a girl. And that opened up the floodgates for all these other shows, the same sex going on, and kissing and all that stuff. That started when Ellen DeGeneres kissed that girl and she got away with it. See, they were waiting to see what was gonna happen. There was a lot of little family groups and stuff like that, protesting or whatever, but it wasn't loud enough. So they tried it out first. They always try it out first with the women anyway. So they tried it out with the women, and then once that happened, they started slowly opening it up more to other things. But they first started off with Ellen and a gay male friend, and they made the relationship like a very normal thing, right?
Hey man, appreciate y'all for kicking me in the Common Cafe. I want y'all to like, subscribe, share, hit notification, peace, and one.